Welcome to the Haunted Ride.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Haunted Ride. I'm your host, Melissa Cummins, and I hope you have your tea and your snacks, and you're doing amazing today. So, sorry this episode is kind of late. Apparently, somehow, when I separated the last episode into two parts, one for last episode and one for this one, it completely messed up the entire file. I did not realize this because the file had been working. I knew it was a bigger file than what I'd worked with before because it was longer. I just thought, okay, I'm going to have a couple issues, but nothing too big. Well, every time I would go in to attempt to edit the file, my Adobe Audition would crash. So it became that I couldn't edit the file. I couldn't record. I couldn't play the file. I couldn't play back my recordings. And every time, essentially, the program would crash and freeze, it wasn't just enough for me to close out the program, open it back up, and think everything was fine. No. In order for me to, it then wouldn't read my microphone or, it would say that my microphone was there, but then if you tried to record, it wouldn't record because it wasn't showing all the audio devices. And so the only way for me to fix that would be to restart my computer. And I was like, I don't understand what's going on. And I tried to fix it for a solid, 5 hours. Shout outs to a couple people on Twitter. Snafood, Voice of the Victim podcast, Play Comics podcast, and IWB, which is Ignorance Was Bliss with Kate. They were all very kind, and I was like, hey guys, do you know anything that edits? Because basically I'm about to not have an episode today, which sucked because I was working on it. I had full intentions. Essentially I just had to go in, re-record my part in the episode for a large majority of it, which was already gonna be a hassle. And then now it's not even working. I don't understand what's going on. I tried to see if I could learn some new program real fast, and I was like, Melissa, realistically, you can't. You can't. So finally, I realized that for some reason, when it broke apart the file, it converted the file. And it made the file essentially the whole entire file for 2 hours worth of audio was about a little under 100 megabytes, which isn't all that big. When it split the file in two, it made the file I was working on 2 gigabytes. So I guess Audition just could not handle that. And then I'm assuming that probably somewhere in there it had also actually messed up the file. It tried to make it into a video file, which Audition is an audio program. So it was just a whole thing, and I finally figured it out, but I figured it out a little bit too late to be able to post an episode at 12 o'clock midnight like I always like to do. So you guys are getting it a little late. I'm sorry. But thank you guys for still sticking around. I found out that apparently I ranked in the United States spirituality category, which, woohoo, that's all thanks to you guys. We're in the top 100. I was 208 last week and I'm 98 now. It always fluctuates and I never really pay all that much attention to it, but that was insane to see. And that's because of you guys, and it has nothing to do with me. So thank you guys so much. I also saw that I've gotten some reviews on iTunes. It wouldn't let me pull up everything, but I did see that I got one from, and I'm sorry if I pronounced your name incorrectly, Val Xiang. Thank you so much for that. I really appreciate it. To anyone who rated or reviewed the show, thank you so much. It really means so much to me. And it actually helps me out a lot on iTunes. And I think that's actually why maybe the ranking's been going up, is because iTunes basically starts to be like, oh, hey, you have a podcast. And it matters because people actually apparently like you. It's a little bit of an odd popularity contest that in order to see things, you have to be slightly popular and then it'll let you. Thank you so much, guys. I really appreciate it. Thank you for being so patient and so kind and so just fantastic, especially with the whole technical difficulties and still listening to previous episodes and still just waiting for the podcast. I really, really appreciate it. we will listen to a promo before we get into the story. But this one is about past lives, reincarnation, soulmates, my personal theories. I realized as I was going through this that there was a lot of me speed talking. So it was kind of good that I had to like re-record some parts because I got really excited. Like past lives, it really excites me to talk about it, and you can clearly hear it on the episode. Like my nervousness factor that's normally sort of in some of the episodes, or like if you listen to the story episode, which Phil actually mentions, which was episode 11, which I really appreciate the fact that he liked it. Because I was really nervous about that episode. Normally you can hear that in my voice, but in this you just hear me being excited. Like super excited, super happy, and like fucking gung-ho as hell. So I hope you enjoy that. We'll play you a promo, and then we will get into the episode, and I'll have a quick little message for you guys at the end.
Hey Slackers, I'm Matt.
And I'm Jesse.
We host American Slacker, the show that keeps you updated on all of the weirdest news around the globe, along with what's going on in the world of Xbox, music and movie suggestions, and fun interactive games.
Every other week, we bring on interesting guests from all walks of life, from filmmakers to musicians, funeral directors to small business owners, and even Jeff Goldblum.
What? No, we never got Goldblum, man.
Oh, a man can dream, can't he?
American Slacker Podcast. New episodes every Wednesday.
Available on Spotify, iTunes, and all of your smart devices, or anywhere else, you might happen to cop a podcast.
They're downloading MP3s, not buying an eighth. I'm shutting this shit down. That's it.
There you go.
But this does actually bring us into a great topic. Past lives.
Past lives. There you go. That which throws heaven and hell throws a monkey wrench in that.
But what if, because what if some people believe that the whole reason and the theory behind past lives is that we all have something to learn? So what if that's why we all come back? What if at that moment, like that is why we go through the things we go through in life? What if, we go through this positive, amazing, incredible life because we had a shitty one in the past and we like handled it correctly? Or we go through a shitty life now because we had an awesome one in the past, we screwed it up or did something incredibly karmatically horrible, and that's why we're in the situations we're in right now. You had a guest on your show who talked a little bit about past lives with their spirit guide.
Yes,
and they were talking about I think so. Like if you killed someone, you may die a violent death in the next life or something. Like karma has a huge influence on your past lives and what happens to you, but that you continue to come back to continue to learn and to continue to experience and eventually ascend to this this other sort of playing field, really. But for me, that really does say something about that whole thought process of heaven and hell. Like, do you come back and this is your heaven or this is your hell? And you're supposed to learn from that. I mean, that bridges the two ideals together. But again, anything is possible.
Anything is possible. I mean, with past lives, here's my issue with past lives. I'm going to throw it under with witchcraft. I don't know. Mm-hmm. But I do have an issue with it. Maybe you can explain. Okay, we have... the only way I can think about it is, okay, the population is always growing. So therefore... Mm-hmm. In past lives, the creator of the universe, whatever you believe that is, has to be generating new souls. Just for the mere fact, because every death you die, you come back, but the population is growing, so he has to be creating new souls and everything. So I'm like, the math just doesn't work all of a sudden. Even though the theory of it, I actually kind of I agree with it, and I think the whole heaven and hell scenario kind of makes sense. Where if you're a dick in your life, you're gonna your next life, you're getting screwed. But I mean, I don't know, but it's just kind of the math of the situation. There always has to be souls being made. And then at what point do you tap out I guess the creator figured out when you learn all you need to learn. And another thing that kind of makes me wonder is the fact that if we're learning all this information now, I know I guess it stays with us subconsciously, but how do we tap into that? I mean, what benefit is, if I've had 100 past lives in my life where I've learned something, now does it just seep through my psyche into this life to kind of help me, guide me, and make me follow a certain path? Or do I not have access to it at all? I mean, I'd love to know if I've had a past life.
I love all these questions. I love them. They're making my day.
Well, I'm here to please, and hope your listeners like it too. Even though they probably tuned out a long time ago with my rambling.
No, you are fine.
But that's just kind of, there's so many questions with it, and how does it work? I mean, I'd love to know. I mean, if I've had horrible past lives or great past lives, I think I'd want to know about it. And, I'd be kind of curious to find out what I was in a past life at some point.
So I have had a couple of past life things happen to me, and I have a few theories. So this is theory time with Melissa, because I realized I have way too many theories, which is also part of why I sometimes feel like there's just something else in me that works sometimes, that just, because there's too much information and there's too many different pathways, and it really should be like my husband always makes fun of me, and he's always like, your brain works too much for too many people.
Right.
And it's funny and it's a joke, but he's not wrong. Like, there are some times when I will just break out with something that I shouldn't know. So here's my theory. I think that there's a difference between spirits and souls. And I don't think that's what the creator or whatever it is that you believe calls it. I think that is the term that we've come up with to try and make sense of all this, and it's the best way for us to sort of comprehend it. But I think that a soul is really like a fractured collection of spirits. And so when you're born, yes, you may be born, you are born of a full spirit, but that spirit is only part of the soul. And so while you can be like, spirit A of soul A, there should be a spirit B and C and D, and B, C, and D might be on this planet at the same time that you are. Now, I clearly don't believe that there's like a certain number of spirits or souls or anything like that, or that there's so many or so little that can be around at the same time. Like, I don't have a belief on that. I have absolutely no idea. Just because I'm good at math doesn't mean I'm good at that. But, I mean, it's just like when you listen to people who may not believe in the paranormal, but you'll hear them say, I just had this patient die. And at the exact same time, I just heard the bells go off saying a new baby was born. Cycle of life has been completed.
Right.
But technically, let's say that, there's 1 million souls. Technically speaking, we could all be fractures of those souls and have absolutely no idea. And what if it gets overloaded and it's just like, all right, well, a couple more people have to die this year. I read this report that said there was an enormously huge amount of people who died, that there was like one death or something every 36. It was like, I don't believe that for anything. Don't believe it 100. Don't believe it. Because wouldn't we would see all this stuff on the news. Like, how would we continue to be populating the world? Like, that doesn't make sense to me. But if I was going to sit there and say that there has to be a certain amount of people who die in order for a certain amount of people to be born, and I'm going to sit here and say that I fully believe in the theory that there is a certain set amount of souls, and that those souls can be fractured into different spirits, and that one soul can have more than one spirit alive on a same plane at the same time, it would work. Because some people, what about when friends say, I feel like I found my soulmate?
Right, yeah.
Because soulmate doesn't have to mean your romantic, perfect partner. That's not what it has to mean. A lot of people who have been trying to take that whole relationship thought process out of the word soulmate, because they're just saying something in them connects with this person in a whole new level that they've never felt before. What if the both of you share the same soul? What if that's the case? I mean, we don't know. And again, it's just a theory of my crazy mind. But what if that's a possibility? I have a particular thought process with my husband. I feel like we're soulmates 110%. No question about it. No anything. I actually had, when I met him, I had a spiritual occurrence. The second time I met him, I had a spiritual occurrence. And then when we finally got together, I had my third spiritual occurrence. And I was just like, okay, got it. This is my person. But with him, in the information that I've been able to get different times from different past lives or from my spirit guides or stuff, I've always been told that there are certain things that he is somewhat broken off from, because there's essentially a part of him that is on this plane and a part of him that's on another plane. And there is a part of my spirit which is on this plane and another part of my spirit that's on the other. The difference is I can still communicate with that spirit. There are times when, and my family has actually seen me do this, I will seem like a different person. My eye colors change, actually quite frequently sometimes. My mannerisms will change. My speech patterns will change. And sometimes I'll even speak languages that I don't know. And they'll be like, what are you doing? Like, what is going on right now? And it's not like I'm possessed. There's nothing wrong with me. Like, I'm still there. Like, I'm still hearing them. I'm still having a conversation with them, but there's just something else that's happening that's not 110% me. But like, I know what that person looks like. I know that person's name. I know that person is me. And just for whatever reason, like, it felt like it needed to be heard for a second instead of me being the person who was hurt. Now, I know that can be a difficult thing for people to believe or to process, that it's possible. But I've heard, actually, even recently, more stories where people are saying their kids are talking about how they remember dying this way, or they remember being on this boat, or they're using words and terminology that they didn't teach them, and they're not going to school yet, so there's no real way for them to have known those things. There was a story about a woman who, she essentially astral projected out of her body in a car. She was driving, and she just felt strange, and then all of a sudden it was like she was outside of her body next to her, but she was still driving. So if your spirit's not in your body, but you're still being functional, then what is? What's some part of you is still there.
Yeah, I mean, go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, I was just going to say, like, it could be a possibility even with, I've never had like someone perform past life regression on me. There's just been things that have happened to me that I am able to communicate with my past lives. My spirit guide is it's not my earliest past life at all. She's very clear about that. She's not even close to like the first 100, but she's one of the earliest of my past lives. And I've had someone tried to do a ritual, and it was supposed to be a ritual to benefit me, but my spirits have this thing where which I'm very in tune with them. So if they don't like something, they won't allow it to happen. Like, it doesn't matter who you're praying to. It doesn't matter. They will tell you, like, no. Like, I cannot be involved in this, whatever. Like, I can't. And I was sitting there and I was just like, I don't want to be part of this. I don't want to be a part of this. And I started feeling like, actually, like, painful. Like, but not like someone was like hitting me or something. It was more like just this surrounding uncomfortability that was just mounting. And as it mounted, it became painful. And so finally, I was just like, stop. And he turns around and he goes to me, he goes, you have a lot of beautiful spirits. Mind you, person knew nothing about this. Barely knew me, barely knew anything. There's no, like, I would have never discussed, I didn't discuss my spirits for several years. I mean, I just recently really, once I started this podcast, I started discussing it a little bit more, but honestly, like, I didn't bring it up. I didn't really mention it. I mean, it's one of those throw it in the crazy pile type things. But basically, he turned around and he told me things that honestly he should have never known and wouldn't have known unless they made it clear. He said, I know that you were telling me to stop the ritual, but I couldn't just leave it, not completed, which I understand. I said, but they didn't let you do whatever it is that you wanted to do for me. He said, no, they did not. He said they wouldn't allow it. I said, exactly. He said, I have never had anything like that happen. I've never seen any, and he apparently in this ritual could physically see them like apparitions. I was still in my body, but he could physically see what they looked like, what they sounded like he could physically see them. And he said it was basically like the room was overrun with people and he knew it was all coming from. And they were like, no, like we told you no, now is no. And he just told me that they were beautiful, that none of them were evil, they were all good, they were all like, and he started like going into their personality, which was very interesting because again, he didn't know me. He was my mother's friend. She was like, hey, can you why don't you come to this thing with me? Like, it's supposed to be like for protection. And I was just like, and she's like, come on, can you, like, she asked, like, basically begged me to go. And so I went with her. And so he didn't even know me. He didn't know anything about my personality, but he was just sitting there, like, picking up random things and even random things about them that I personally know because of memories and dreams and things that I've had from them. And I was just like sitting there like, this is new.
Yeah.
Like, I didn't even know this could happen. And I told you that my spirit, like if I astral project or something, it looks completely different than I physically do. And I was sharing a story about a drawing I had made when I was a kid and with my husband. And this was the first time he had heard about the drawing, didn't know anything about it. And apparently he drew the same sort of symbolization of a person. And we said, like, this person had been watching over us for like years and years and years. And when he told me in detail who, like, what that woman looked like, I was like, oh shit, that's me. And then I told him about his and he was like, oh, he kind of just was like, that was kind of weird, but I knew it was him because he's not the type of person who's going to be like he won't go there. Like, he believes that things can happen, but like he likes to stay in a nice little comfortable pile of, nope, I'm not going to go into like that lane right now. So I've had tons of different things happen. I've had dreams of how they died, and those dreams, those horrible nightmares, they felt incredibly real. Like, to the point that like I didn't think I was alive. Like, I woke up and I was just like, oh my God, like I'm in bed, like I'm here, like I'm like, I could feel like there was one where I was coming over from either like England or Ireland or something. I was like on a ship with like different people, and I didn't really want to be there, but for whatever reason I had to be on the ship, and the ship ended up sinking and I drowned, and I could feel like the water in my throat. Or I had another situation where I was burned at the stake as a witch. So I literally felt like I was on fire, and I woke up and I was screaming and crying because I felt the pain. And even to the point that my actual literally skin was red. Like, not like it was like I had just been, for all intents and purposes, burned. I mean, like it looked like I had been burned. I couldn't go to school the next day because of it. I've had another one where I was apparently stabbed in the stomach, which was great because I woke up with that pain. Like, it was, and it's different than like a dream. Like, it doesn't, I mean, I've had dreams, I've had realistic nightmares where I was scratched and I woke up and I had a scratch there on my body. And it was clearly a nightmare, and I don't really understand how I got the scratch or how I woke up with the scratch like that, or what happened in my psyche at that time that somehow that occurred. I've had those realistic dreams, I've had those realistic nightmares, but this was different. This was stronger, and it felt real. And I mean, for debunking purposes, sure, you could sit there and say that somehow I managed to see something that was reminiscent of this period of time, and then I had the dream, and then I pictured these clothes or outfits or things like that, or these people, And then as I did this, I somehow had some issue going on or whatever, and decided that that person died. And somehow psychologically, I linked pain together. And so I felt that too. And then, years down the road or months down the road or however long, I then pictured to myself that this person who died was a previous spirit. For debunking purposes, sure, I guess you could say that. But even me, like, sitting here attempting to say that right now sounds like a load of bullshit, honestly. Like, for me, that just seems like way too much and way too many psychological things for you to loop together for it to try to work. Additionally, like, I have a problem in my mind where I can't hold on to details for long periods of time. So I love to paint and I love to draw. I'm horrible at it, but I love doing it. And part of why I'm horrible at it is because let's say that I'm trying to paint a bunny. I know what a bunny looks like. Floppy ears, tail, you know it. But if you're sitting there and you're trying to do like details, you need to get like the fur right, the eyes right, if you want to do dirt specks, the dirt specks right. Like, you have to get all that stuff right. I can come up with this elaborate, beautiful picture in my mind, but I can hold on to it for maybe like 5 seconds. The harder, even like, I've noticed the harder I try to hold on to it, the more that I can't, the more that I start losing the details. So if I put dirt specks on its feet, I won't remember what the feet look like or where they are. I can recall images just fine. Recalling images is fine. Like, I've got a great memory in terms of taking something and bringing it back, but holding on to detail in this like artistic, creative manner where I would need to do that in order to get all of this right and be able to paint it correctly every single freaking time, that we're essentially psychologically saying I did this to myself. I can't do it. Like, I cannot. I have tried for years to be able to do it when I'm painting or drawing, and I can't. So, for me, I do believe in past lives. I do believe in reincarnation. I believed in reincarnation before I even knew it was a word. So I would hate to find out that we learn all these things and then we die and nothing else comes from it. And I've always struggled with that thought process that we're just gone and we don't come back, or we're gone. And even before I knew what the word reincarnation meant, it just never made any sense to me that was not what happened. Like, I guess I'm a little too weird to, not be able to just go, we're just here and then we're gone and that's it. Or we just like, we go and then like the other thing is too, is like, if we just die and our spirit isn't recycled. And again, going back to what you're talking about, that, with the different numbers and all the souls that you would have to create and all of these things, why would you make all these other like spirits and souls if you got a whole collection up here chilling out? Like, thinking about it from a human point, if you have money and you have a whole bunch of money sitting right here, why would you sit here and be like, oh, I got to go get some money, when you have a whole bunch over here that you can use at your disposal at any time you want? It's not going to hurt you. Why would you need to go get some more money? Why would you need to make more money for it? I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, you bring up you made me think about it. How can I like the soulmate thing. I mean, that actually makes sense to me. I mean, because there's people that we are naturally drawn to in this world. And there's people, or I'm speaking for myself, that, the whole, I don't like somebody from first impression or just looking at somebody you don't like. But then there are people that, you are completely, totally in sync with, And I mean, that kind of makes sense with the fracturing of the souls. But I wanted the dream thing that I've had one of those dreams too and I've only had one. And it was the weirdest thing, because I always heard, if you die in your sleep, you die in real life. And somebody said that to me, and I was like, no, you don't. Because I had a dream where I died, and basically just kind of set the scenario. I was running through a mall or some kind of building or crowded people. I was being chased by somebody with a gun. And
Oh
I
my
turned
God.
around. I turned around. I heard the shot. I heard the flash. I felt the pain in my stomach, and I was laying on the ground. And how you would think you would when you're dying, how things will happen. Things start fading to black. You start losing everything, and it just goes black, and it goes black, and the next thing you know, light. It starts. My eyes start adjusting again, and it starts getting lighter and lighter and lighter until I can make out I'm in my room, laying on my bed.
Yeah.
And I had the worst pain in my stomach where I got shot. And it was more than just a tummy ache. Of course, I was a teenager, maybe a senior in high school at that time. But that's kind of weird. That's a weird dream. Now I don't recall time wise or the people that were around me. I can't recall faces or anything, but I just remember how it was like if I had to picture how you feel or what you see when you die is pretty much that. It's like the dimmer switch. Somebody just turning off the light and then it just kind of turned back on. That's kind of weird, but I like what you said, and it makes me think about the soulmate and kind of put the whole idea of past lives and reincarnation and the fracturing portion, into perspective. It kind of makes sense. Your theory is not that bad. I like it.
What's really interesting is I have, when I was a teenager, seemed to somehow have an ability where I could see or find people who I had encountered in a past life. Like, it was a group of us actually, and we just kept connecting. It turns out one of them she was extremely psychic. And she felt it too. We never really figured out where we were before or how we got together. But we knew that we knew somehow we knew one another, and we just seemed to know each other way too well and seemed to be too connected. And unfortunately, we couldn't be connected in this life due to some of the things that were going on with her. And for personal reasons, for both of us to be healthy, we had to break away from one another. But we still think about each other a lot. And, every once in a while, I get a quick message from her. She'll get a quick message from me. There's another person who we had discussed it, and she's from New Jersey, and her mom actually moved down to Georgia, and they were looking for a fresh start, and her mom agreed to move down to Georgia so that they could be closer to me. That was the connection that even I had with her mom. Her mom was just like, you guys have something that I don't understand. I truly just don't get it. But I feel it too when I'm around you guys. Right. And it was just we met online, obviously, and we were able to actually really meet in real life. And she came to my house in Florida, and there was just such difference of energy than when I was just by myself. There was just something that was so completely different being around her. And there were certain times where we would feel maybe one of us had been a mom to the other or something, or things like that. There was actually a guy who going into psychic, he's actually an extreme psychic. We actually knew that we had been together in several lives, but when you thought of the thought process of a soulmate, and that's the person that you're supposed to be with, we both knew we were not that for one another. We had always just settled with that for one another because in one of our earliest lives, we had been together that way. Yeah. That was just sort of what we were, for better terminology, basically forced into. So we had that comfort of being able to know one another very well. And we didn't discuss spirits too much, but there was times where he would legitimately there's a couple of the spirits, I know their names, and he would call me by that name. And I'd be like, wait, what did you say? And he'd say it, and I was like, oh, you know that one? And he's like, yeah. And he would tell me things that I knew of that spirit. We didn't have that conversation.
Right.
And I was like, okay, so somehow, maybe we're linked. And with my husband, and because you got to get sappy in an episode.
There we go.
I met him in a game, an online game. It was a MMORPG, so you can meet more than enough people. And I was in a guild, so tons of different people and stuff like that. But I knew I had to meet my soulmate in this lifetime, and I knew I was going to meet my soulmate in this lifetime. And so I would just really, really want to meet this person. And so sometimes there would be something that would literally wake me up in the middle of the night and go, you need to get on the game. And I'm like, no, it's 3:00 in the morning. Why would I ever, like, I've got school tomorrow. Why would I ever get on the game? So this particular time I did finally get on it. It was like 4:15. And I'm like, what am I doing? Like, what am I supposed to find here? Who am I supposed to find? What the fuck? Like, you know how many people play this goddamn game? How am I supposed to know, like who he is? How would I know? But I see this person's name. Something tells me to check the guild list, and I check the guild list. And I scroll, I see this person's name, and I'm like, I just felt something. I still just don't even know how to describe it. And I was just like, I have to talk to this person. Like, I have to talk to this person. But then he logged off. So I try to see if I can find him, find out anything about this person, something. I try the next day to log on to try and see if I can catch him in time. No luck. I would wake up in the middle of the night to like try to get him, but I couldn't. And it was annoying as hell. It was so annoying because it was just like, I have to get to know this person. So eventually, like, I don't see him anymore. And I'm just like, fuck, I guess like I guess I lost my chance. That happened when I was 14, 15. So cut to like when I'm like 18 now, and I was just like, man, I don't even know I'm still on this stupid fucking thing. And I was on a completely different, like, I was on a private server. I wasn't even playing the official game anymore. So like at this time, there are probably at least close to 100 or more private servers for this game. So not even on the official server anymore, not playing with those people, completely new, groups of people, completely new people. Some people did come from the official server, but like, of course you don't know until like you see them and they are like, hey, yeah, I was there too. And at this point now I'm in this guild, and I didn't want to be in the guild, but I went over with a friend of mine, and I just, honestly, I was kind of miserable. I really honestly was. I'm up in the middle of the night for some reason that I can't even understand. Like, I just couldn't sleep. I felt like wired, like I had to stay up. And this person logs on, and I was just like, holy shit. Like, holy shit. I have to talk to this person. And if I don't, it's going to be the biggest mistake of my life. I don't really know how else to describe it except that they felt like this huge, monumental pillar in my life that I needed to like run and embrace with open arms. And so I made some weird joke in the middle of the guild chat, and I was just like, I'm not funny. I'm really not a funny person. I'm weird. And he messaged me, and we start talking. And no lie, in 30 minutes, I was completely 110% in love with this person, which made no sense to me because that's not how love works. You sit there like I believe in like attraction at first sight, and I believe that like there are people who find their soulmate, but it's like what, like in the romantic terms of soulmate, so like how do you, and at that point I had never had a friendship soulmate really that I felt like this person like is a part of me. I had people that I knew that I had known in past lives, and I accepted that, but that was on a different level, and I didn't really understand that. So I argued with myself about it for like 3 days, and I was like, there's no way I'm in love with this person. I barely know them. I just met them. Like, and I'm not an idiot. That's not how love works. That's not how relationships work. Like, how do you have a foundation of that relationship? It doesn't work. So finally I said, you know what? Look, one of my spirits basically appeared and was like, would you shut the fuck up and just accept it? And I was just like, you're on board? Like, if you're on board, what does that mean? So I still don't think like this is my soul. I don't know what this is, but I have no explainable word or whatever for this feeling. So I said, okay, fine. I said, if you just want me to accept it, I'll accept it. You get what you want. I hope you're happy now. That's basically what I said. That night when I went to sleep, I wasn't even fully asleep, but I had this like weird sensation, and it was like almost like I looked down at my chest, and it was like this huge purple, almost like a tree root, was coming out of my chest and going into like the roof area, and it was traveling somewhere. And all I could see was like, maybe that's connected to him. Because I had never seen this before. I was like, I don't know what this is, but okay. I said I would be accepting of things, so I'll just accept this. So it turns out that like me and this person got together 4 months later, and it turns out that when I had that feeling of I have to get to know this person, I have to talk to this person, he had that feeling too. When I had felt like I fell 110% in love with this person in the first 30 minutes of speaking to him, he had that feeling too. He knew, I'm not even really sure how he, like, we've talked about it a couple times, but like he's never really like gone into like how he knew. But similar to like how I knew, like he 110% believed that there was a soulmate out there for him and he had to find this person. But he actually like had gotten, because he's 4.5 years older than me, he'd gotten to a point where he was just tired of trying to find it. And he was just like, you know what, maybe I just need to give up. And he had a time limit before he was going to leave the country he was in and go somewhere else. I found him basically when he made that decision of the time limit. We found one another. So it happened like right in this perfect space. Right. So I don't know any of this for a while, really. He tells me that he felt so 110% in love with me. And again, we talk on a game. So I don't know what he looks like at this point. And when this happens, I have never heard his voice. I'm not even entirely sure that he's a man because he plays a female character. So this is very strange for me. Like, you know what I mean? Like there's no identifying factor whatsoever. It turns out that 2 weeks after we met one another, he was so incredibly in love with me that he had full intentions of getting on a plane, flying over and asking me to marry him. And I told him, and what was interesting was I kept having these weird wants. I mean, I had always wanted to get married, but I was never someone who dreamed of weddings and all that stuff. I just knew there was someone out there for me, and that was the person I'd spend the rest of my life with. And I had started having those thoughts about that same week. And he told me about that he was going to basically had a timetable giving up, and we met the day he decided that like we met that night. And he said the last thing he told me to kind of close all this up is we were talking about the game and just like how long we had been playing the game and how it was sort of funny that we met on the game and like all this stuff. And because, you know, it honestly was a long shot, really, and it just worked out so well that we had met this way. And he lives in Egypt. So that sort of explained the time difference a little bit. And then what also explains it is we were talking about the original server and just all these things. And he's like, yeah, I used to play on the original server. I was like, oh, you did? I was like, well, oh, okay. I used to play there too. And he's like, yeah, I was in this guild. And I was like, you were? And he said, yeah. And I said, huh, because I was in that guild too. And I was like, what was your name? It turns out the name that I had felt that connection to, that I had signed on randomly, that was him. And I did not know that. I had no idea. And he told me the story behind that name. And it had to do with the person who, a story of when he was born. And that's why he picked that name. And that's why he played a female character, was to match that name. So I think on the original server, his name was Nurse Irma. When I met him, his name was like something weird, like Medusa? No, like something else. Like let's say it's Medusa. Nurse Irma and Medusa are two completely different fucking things.
Right. Exactly.
Different characters, different everything. There's no way. And that is why I would wake up I kept saying, I want to meet my soulmate. I want to meet my soulmate. Like, why isn't this working? Like, I thought I was doing everything. Like, what's going on? And I kept waking up in the middle of the night is because the time difference between here and Egypt during daylight savings time is 8 hours.
Yeah.
When we're not in daylight savings time, it's 7. So when I was asleep, he was awake. And that was why I kept waking up to try to get him.
Huh. Wow.
Yeah. Yep.
It's one of those things you can't deny that.
Mm-hmm. So there's my sappy part of it. But, I've talked about the fact that I've had a bad childhood. I had a lot of bad things happen to me. I had the fact that I'm still here sometimes is amazes me because I didn't think it would.
Right.
I would be here. And so for me to trust someone, it's sort of like how you talked about you don't trust anybody. I don't trust anyone. It's
Right.
very difficult for me to trust people, especially when it comes to men. And I've said that on one of my podcast episodes before. And so for me so it is especially weird and rare for me to the point that with this person who at this point I barely knew, if he asked me to jump off a building and trust him, I would trust him. I would trust him that there was a reason. I would trust him that there was something that would catch me. And I had never had that feeling before, especially not in the first few moments of meeting them.
Right.
And so that was, he is the part of my path. And I've always known my soulmate was the part of my path. And for me, he's both of those things. So it's another reason, a part of why I have to believe in soulmates and I have to believe in past lives and stuff like that, because they're having to connect us for us to both have these such strong, incredible passions to find our person, and the same way of how we emotionally connected and even spiritually connected. Like it, for me, it makes no sense.
Right.
I can't explain it.
That's what makes it interesting. You can't explain it.
That's what does it. But I think I have taken up almost 3 hours of your time today.
Well, you're not quite at 3 hours. You're a little under. That's okay though.
I just Phil, I think I told you in the message, but I wanted to have you on the first interview. As my dog is barking back up.
There you go.
She's got to be a part of this too. Can't kick her out.
No, can't do that.
Luckily, she managed to snap her leash earlier today, and so I went to go get my dog, and my dog was not where I last left her, and I don't have a fence, so
No.
yes, I'm very happy that she's bonded with me, and that we have a great relationship. That where I call her, she comes to me, and yeah, she was essentially gone for 45 minutes, and I had no idea, not a clue, but. The reason why I really wanted you to be on this first interview is because, one, you're awesome, but also because I really, when I was sitting here and I was doing these podcasts, there were plenty of times where I was just like, should I really be doing this? Like, I feel like, one, I'm opening up a whole new can of worms, and two, I'm sitting here and voicing my experiences with people, and I don't know how people are going to take them or how things are going to go, and there's so many questions. And, I got lucky and I followed you, or you followed me or something like that. And you had me on the show. And you were so kind and you shared your experience with podcasting. And when we talked about it, really made me feel like, hey, you know what? Like, this is normal. Like, how I'm feeling is normal, but like, look at all like the great things that this person is doing and their passion, their dedication, all the great things they're doing. And like, if I can't dedicate this and I can't be as passionate as this, then I don't need to be doing this. But I knew I could. Like, I knew that I had that in me, and I knew that I could give that to my listeners, and I could give that to whoever was willing to like give this podcast a chance. A large part of the continuation of this show is due to me for speaking with you, and also of your support. Like, you've been a complete and amazing support. You're always hilarious anytime we're talking, and I really appreciate you, and I really thank you for all of your help and all of your support and being around and for your podcast. And thank you for the teaser for your show so that people will check it out. And I will also be one of the first listeners on that show because I really want to know what happened. You're breaking my heart that I don't get it right away.
Well, maybe after we end this conversation, I will tell you exactly what happened, as long as you promise not to tell anybody. But
I promise, I swear, I will not say a single word.
All right. But thank you so much for those kind words. Trust me, I'm not that awesome. But, I really appreciate, because, if what you've gotten out of my podcast and your interaction with me, if I could stop now, that, I'm happy. That is what I wanted. That's what that's what I like, that I make a difference in somebody's life. Now, with that being said, I can take no credit. Your show is amazing, and it's all because of the personality. I mean, just keep doing what you're doing. I mean, you have a bubbly personality, and you have fun now, and you can get away with a lot more stuff than I can. I mean, I'm more cynical by nature, like how you end every show now, which is awesome for you. I like it, and I listen to it. But I couldn't do that. I mean, people listen to that and say, "What the fuck is this douchebag doing?" He just lost his marbles. But it works with you, with your personality, and I enjoy it, and I'm sure everybody else enjoys it. That's why you're having growth like you're having, because pretty soon you're going to be higher than me, and that's okay. That's a great thing. Now,
That's not going to happen.
oh yeah. Well, trust me. But I did, just to kind of a side note, you did an episode. Oh, when was it? Around Christmas time, where it wasn't even paranormal. You just read a story that you wrote.
Yeah.
Don't be afraid to do that either. I enjoyed it.
I am so happy to hear that.
I mean, and here's the thing. I'm a manly man, but I listened to it, and I was actually, I know it was Christmas time because I was visiting my mother and her boyfriend. I was listening to it on my way. It was a Monday. It was Monday when it was released, because I spent the week at Sunday with her before Christmas, because Christmas was on Tuesday. And I was driving home, an hour and a half drive. So I listened to it, and I was like, okay. And and to be honest with you, when you first said what, I was like, oh, I'm not going to like this. I probably won't make it through it. I wasn't going to tell you that, but and I listened to it. I was like, wow, A, that's a great story. And B, she has an amazing ability to, read the story and get the emotion across. I mean, I enjoyed it. I mean, I was envious. I couldn't pull that off. I read it as be like, Jack and Jill went up. I mean, I'm like, damn, she's got a good inflection. I mean, it drew me in, and I was like, I'm not going to admit I like this, but I'm actually kind of liking this right now. So, but just, keep doing that stuff, and you'll be all right. And, don't be afraid. You can always come on my podcast. I'm always looking for guests, and we have fun when we talk, and we have, it's not really an interview. It's a conversation. Two people discussing some stupid shit. And that's the way it should be.
Yeah. I like it, and it's fantastic. Now, I think we gotta end this because I want to hear that teaser, and sorry people, but gotta know.
You only have to wait an extra week.
Yeah, I mean, it's look, patience is a virtue. I tell my mother that all the time, and she tells me that she doesn't know what that is, and that I told her she needs to go pick up a lifetime supply at Walgreens. But thank you again. Thank you so much for everything you've done. Thank you for coming on the show. Let people know where they can find you, and the name. We have not discussed the name of your show.
Oh,
we haven't said it.
What the hell are we thinking? We're gonna have to start all over now. Oh no!
Yeah, another 3 hours.
I do have somewhere to be at 7, but we'll be all right. It's Ghost in the Night. You can find me pretty much everywhere: iTunes, Stitcher, Google Play, all that stuff. But the easiest way to catch the episodes is at philsams.com. I put a player on there, and on to the right there, the latest episodes right there. That's the easiest way if you don't want to search. But follow me on Twitter. My Twitter handle is @night_ghost. That is the best place to follow me. That's where I'm most active, just because I don't have that much time between doing podcasts, full-time job. But I'm also on Facebook @Ghost in the Night. And I'm on Instagram. I'm kind of struggling with it because time-wise, but you can find me there at ghost_night_podcast. I'm on YouTube, and I do post videos for every podcast, but I'm not in a big rush, just like our second episode that aired Tuesday. I haven't posted a video yet. It's actually done. I actually finished it last night, or exported it last night. I'm going to upload it sometime today, but you can always catch the video there if you want to listen to the podcast with a nice picture and sometimes my face. It just depends on my mood at the time. But really, philsams.com is the easiest place to find the podcast where you don't have to search too hard, but Twitter is the best place to reach out and contact me. If you want to contact me there, like how you contact me, or you can email me at ghostinthenight@gmail.com. Those are the easiest ways to get a hold of me. Check it out.
And if you guys want to be a guest on his show, you need to contact him because he's got a great show. And obviously, you can hear how he is. He's not judgmental. He's very open. He's pretty hilarious. Which is why I also appreciate the fact that he's not a frog today.
That's true. And I don't have a third ear.
No third ear, no frog. I don't think you've been haunted by anything, I think you said. And yeah, so we're, but he may haunt you in the future. So
yes,
you may want to watch out for that, but you never know.
I make no guarantees.
But thank you so much, everyone, for joining us. And I hope you enjoyed this. All right, guys. So that is the last part of the episode and the lovely interview and conversation I had with Phil Sams from Ghost in the Night. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I also want to thank you guys for listening to the first part because I was really concerned originally because I was like, oh shit, this episode is 1 hour and 36 minutes long. Like, I have the whole thing about how I try to make sure episodes aren't more than half an hour long because, like, if you're driving to work or something like that, like, most people can probably listen between like 15 and maybe 30 minutes. When you start getting into like an hour and a half, like sometimes people have to pause and come back. And I wasn't really sure how that was going to go. And that was the first time this had ever been done. And it was the first time we'd ever had an interview on here. So I was really nervous and I was really concerned about the whole thing. But you guys seem to actually like it. Like it's, that episode has actually been the fastest growth in an episode I've ever seen as far as downloads go. So thank you guys so much. That means so much to me. I hope that also means that you guys took a second to check out his podcast, check out what he does and what he's about, or follow him on Twitter or look at him on YouTube or Facebook. And I hope that you guys enjoyed this episode too, even though it was a little bit more of me talking because I got super excited. What do we have? I think the only business we have to go through is just if you guys can keep subscribing to the show and if you have a ghost story, send it in. You can send it in to thehauntedride@gmail.com or in at thehauntedride.com at the send us your story link. Next week's episode Saturday will be the Patreon true crime episode. It's going to be on Elisa Lam, which that story's been done a ton of times, but I really wanted to do the story, so I was just like, you know what, fuck it, I'm gonna do the story. And then we're also going to have on Sunday will be the first mythology episode, which will be courtesy of Alice. She emailed me. She's very sweet. She's absolutely wonderful. She emailed me and she asked me about merfolk. And I was like, I think it's great. Like, I think it's perfect because one, mythology, there are quite a lot of mermaid creatures and mermen creatures in mythology. They all do different things. So it's not like I'm going to have to be concerned that the episode won't be long enough. There's going to be more than enough information out there about merfolk. And I like mermaids. I think they're great. I had dreams about them. I think it's fantastic. And she likes it and she suggested it. And I'm sorry, like I can't think of anything better to be our first mythology episode than something someone suggested. So if you want to have something that you suggested on the podcast, do what she did. Write me an email. Or send it in on the forums. Like, I'm actually on the new edition of the website. I am correcting the title of the forum and the description so that people know. I mean, if you listen to the podcast, I think I've said it. I hope I've covered it enough. But so people know that it doesn't just have to be a story. You can send in a topic that you want to talk about. We can talk about urban legends. We can talk about haunted places. One of the episodes, I got a story in about a haunted castle, and I'm actually going to try and see if I can find some information in some other people's stories and make a whole episode about that castle. Just because, why not? Like, that's my job as a podcaster. Like, my job is to cover this topic as best as I can. And if I, like, half-ass it, then I'm not doing my job. And that's not what I want. That's not what I want at all. Like, I want this to be a great experience for you guys, and I want you guys to feel like, oh shit, she really puts a lot of time into this, and she really actually cares, because I do. I actually, talking about that, I had recorded this part of the episode again, I call it the intro and the exit. So, you know, the beginning, and I did the exit after this. And I ended up re-recording this part because I had gotten into what I wanted to talk about this week that I had learned. And I was a little concerned that the way I didn't it was about me and about something extremely personal that's happened to me. And I was concerned that in bringing it up, while I had been very cautious about not going into too much detail, even the fact of bringing it up, like if someone has that particular issue going on with them right now, they may not be able to hear it. And so I would love to broach it with you guys one day, and perhaps for like our 50th episode, I'll do a get to know me a little bit more and get to know like why I do these things and where all this stuff comes from and why I put these in here. But I don't want to, I mean, I did like put a little warning, like, hey, you know, we're about to get personal and like whatever, like I did put that in here. But I just said, you know what, I think it might just be better if we don't do this right now and we do it at another time. Especially when, if you go through like this whole episode, I've been super excited, super gung-ho, super happy, super whatever. And this was a happy story, but it does broach a negative topic, and I don't want, I never want to make anyone feel uncomfortable. Like, I would rather you walk into an episode, know when you press play, like, you signed in for this, and this is what you're going to get. I never want you to feel like, whoa, this came out of left field or something like that. So, I actually, that should also, if you guys don't know it by now, I care, even though I don't know you personally, I do care about you. I think as a podcaster, I mean, yeah, sure, there's people who get in it for money. And don't get me wrong, if you told me like fucking tomorrow that someone wanted to pay all my bills and all I had to do was sit here and record an episode like a couple times a week, sign me the fuck up. I think most people would do that. But if that's all you're here for, it's gonna show. It may not show in the first episode, it may not show in the first 50. But eventually people are gonna kind of pick up on it, and they're gonna be like, that's gonna annoy you after a while. I think that as a podcaster, or at least I hope most people who do this are in it for their community. They're in it to build a community and to support through this, using this platform in that community. And that's what I'm here for. So I hope that shows in everything. So I think to slightly modify my what I learned this week thing is, I'm going to cheat. I'm going to give y'all two. So the first one is, please just like make sure you guys look at whatever's like in your herbal tea. Because I'm always talking to you guys about how much I love herbal tea, and I love me some herbal tea. I at least have a cup a day, sometimes 2, sometimes 3, when not feeling well. The problem is, like, I used to only do loose leaf teas. That's essentially what I had grown up on. But all the places that did loose leaf teas aren't anywhere near my house, so I can't go travel to them, really. It'll take me at least an hour and a half to get to the nearest one that I know of. And when I've tried to Google, I haven't really found much of anything that's been helpful. Or then I have to shop on Amazon or shop online or something. And if you're sick and you need something warm to drink and you need a tea, where are you going to go? The grocery store. So I went to the grocery store, and lately I've been picking up blends from the grocery store, and this has been going on for about 2 years at least. Because it didn't used to happen before. I liked it when it didn't happen before. But I studied Chinese herbal medicine and acupuncture, so I know a lot about herbal medicine, and that's my thing. Like, if I go to a grocery store, I will look at the ingredients of every single thing that's in that herbal tea and decide whether or not I think that's a good blend. If I think it's a bad blend, it doesn't go in the cart. If it's a good blend, it comes. So the thing is, in Chinese herbal medicine, like, like, a plant is not, most herbs are not just looked at as a plant. It's the seed, it's the root, it's the plant, it's like the whole plant, the leaf, the stems. Everything has similar properties, but they can be different, and that's just how Chinese medicine is. In American herbal medicine, that's not the case. It's, you have a plant, this is what it does. Because if they are putting it in your blend, they're probably using all components of it. Which means that like, 1, 2, 3, whatever, like, breaking it down in parts doesn't work. And the one that I didn't know anything about was licorice. I just knew it was good for phlegm. I'd figured that out. I figured it out based on the properties. I knew it was good for phlegm, stuff like that. And I was like, sweet, cool. So I finally ended up looking up, what does licorice do? Because I would have this tea and I would drink it, and I noticed anytime I drank the tea, I got a killer headache. And I was just like, what is going on? And it turns out licorice is actually, people who have high blood pressure are really susceptible to licorice and really shouldn't have it. I don't have high blood pressure, but the thing is, if you drink a cup of licorice tea, or tea that contains licorice, once a day for about 2 weeks, it will significantly raise your blood pressure. Now, at the period of time where this was affecting me the hardest, I only found this out now. The teas that I were drinking were all cold teas. They all had licorice in them, and I was having about 2 to 3 cups a day. And I did that for about 2 months. So my blood pressure actually was legitimately through the roof. So I found out about a month ago that this was the case. And I looked through all my teas, and I actually the other day went through the process of separating them out. By what did I know every single ingredient, and that was a great blend. What did I think was a great blend but had licorice? Out of the tea box that I have, which you can hold 12 teas on each row, I have 7 great teas and 9 teas that have licorice. So just the first thing is, please just, when it comes to herbals, like, oh, herbals, like, whatever, best, just be careful. Because sometimes people put shit in things, or they just assume it's good for you because it has this property, and they're not looking at the side effects. And while herbal medicine can be great for you, like, you also need to know the side effects. Do not go nuts. Do not, like, fucking look up every single herbal thing that's in your tea or whatever. But, and go and do a deep dive for like 6 hours, come out and throw everything out of your cabinet. But just, freaking, this is gonna sound ridiculous, WebMD. Ignore the whole, like, just ignore, like, their whole introduction. Ignore that shit. Go to, uses and side effects. Look at those two. So there's that. And then, like, a really quick one, because I was on that topic for way too long. And I don't want this episode to end up being an hour and 36 minutes long like the other one. Just, if you feel like you need time for yourself, you can take it. Like, I used to have this horrible time with understanding that whole, take a break and come back to it mentality. I was just like, fuck no. Like, I just want to get it done. Like, even with this podcast episode today, like, I ate dinner. I need to eat at certain times. And I ate dinner way late than I should. All because I wanted to get the podcast episode done. And you know what made me get up and eat dinner? It wasn't even that I was hungry. I didn't even realize the time. It was, because my phone had died. I wasn't paying attention to the clock. I just wanted to get it done. Because it pissed me off that I had all the issues yesterday. And I was like, you know what? I feel like I should eat now. I had no idea what time it was. I was like, you know what? I can even get up and do a couple. And I got up. I stepped away from the podcast episode, got up, did some laundry, finished up some other stuff, cleaned up some stuff, got the trash ready for tomorrow. He was heating up the food. Like, I literally heated up the food in the microwave like 5 times. It was fine. It was spaghetti. It wasn't a big deal. So it was like spaghetti that, like, I had left in its, like, little formed triangle. I had it broken apart, so the bottom had it heated up. It was fine. But when I got back, I was like, oh shit, it's like 9:30. What the hell? What happened? And, like, yeah, that sucks. Like, that's not good. That's not a good thing. But here's the thing. Like, I'm not gonna focus on that. I don't give a fuck about it. I don't care. Because I got up from the podcast in the middle of an episode when normally, like, I'm the type of person who, if I have a problem, if I have something I'm doing, I'm not getting up. I'm not finishing it, and I'm gonna finish it before I ever leave this station. And that's just how I am about everything. And sometimes, like, you need a break. Sometimes you need to, like, eat or use the bathroom or wash your face or blow your nose or take a sip of water. And, like, I think most people, like, we sit down and we think about these things. We're like, it's fine. Like, we'll get to it when we get to it. And, like, no. Like, no. Like, that, honestly, that causes problems. Emotionally, it causes problems. Physically, it causes problems. Mentally, it causes problems. We all need a break. So I think that's a perfect way to end this episode. And just take care of yourself, guys. Treat yourselves well. Treat others well. And I will see you in a couple days.